titles like By Design, The God Who Speaks, and Asbury Revival, Desperate for More. You'll also find video versions of AFR programs. Visit afa.net and click on Streaming. Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. Hope you had a nice weekend. It's Monday, May the 20th, 2024. In studio with me is Ed Vitagliano. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Tim.
And Fred Jackson.
Good morning, Tim.
And, gentlemen, good weekend? Yeah?
Absolutely.
Well, my hockey team got bounced out on Friday night. So
set the tone.
So how do you think my weekend went?
I understand, but you can get over that in, 48 days or so?
I was expecting
hours?
Yeah, I was expecting it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't.
When you anticipate a loss, it's not. Yeah. It doesn't sting as hard.
It doesn't.
It was a good series, though.
Yeah.
It was a good series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that was Friday night. I'm working my way through it, Tim. I'm working my way through it.
Your team will be back you just hang on to October. Be back in October.
You wait till next year.
The perpetual cry of the sports fan, right?
We haven't won a Stanley Cup. We won one. Talking about hockey, folks.
Right.
So
right.
My team, the Boston Bruins, has won one Stanley Cup in 50 years. Yeah, that was in 2011, so 13 years ago. So, but hope, hope rises.
I think the saying is "Hope springs eternal."
Yes, that's what I was looking for.
There's always next year.
That's right. So.
All right, we Fred. What's the number one news story right now?
Right now, Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, is back on the stand this morning.
Back in the saddle.
This is, a lot of people are saying this will probably be the last day. Trump's lawyers are cross-examining this lawyer who has, in most people's estimation, absolutely zero credibility. And point made this morning already in the last half hour, Michael Cohen admitted he basically lied to the former Trump organization. It was about this. The Trump organization had a tech company, contract with a tech company, Red Finch. Michael Cohen goes to the chief financial officer of the Trump organization and says, hey, we owe this company $50,000. And turns out they only owed, the Trump organization only owed the company $20,000. So Michael Cohen pocketed the other $30,000. So under question this morning, so you stole? Yes, Cohen admits. And you've never paid the Trump organization back for the money you stole from it? No. You lied, the chief financial officer, about the amount owed to you for Red Finch. Yes. So once again, I mean, he's lied. He's been to prison for lying. A lot of people are saying, and even like the New York Times and liberal publications are saying, this is the star witness for Alan Bragg, the prosecutor in New York. This is the star witness, and he is failing miserably. There is no indication.
I think he's a shooting star, Fred. Actually, if you think about it, it's going to fade out.
Yeah,
fading out
quickly.
We're watching it fade out in about before our very eyes.
Yeah. So apparently, as I say, what they're saying is this is the last day of this trial. There's supposed to be summations tomorrow, and we could have a verdict in this by the end of the week.
Verdict's going to be, of course, juries are hard to tell, but you got to have 12 people convict. You got to go 12-0, right? I think that's what Abe said.
Yes, even if there's one.
So he's going to be, it's my prediction, he's going to be, he being President Trump, going to be either hung jury or not guilty.
You think he might be acquitted?
How do you get acquitted? Do you have to have 12-0? Do you have to have 12-0 for a conviction and 12-0 for an acquittal? Or do they even have to say something like that? The juries. the foreman? Does he come out and just say not guilty? We don't. Does it have to be unanimous? Do you know?
I think a hung jury is when you have like 11, or it can be any combination of numbers. You do not have a unanimous verdict. So you can have unanimous for guilty, unanimous for not guilty, and that's part of the system where you have to convince your fellow.
That's what I'm asking.
Jurors.
If they say not guilty, does that mean it's 12-0 not guilty, or does that mean it's 9-3
that's my
not guilty?
understanding. My understanding is
unanimous.
You have a hung jury. In other words, you can continue deliberations as long as people are willing to change their vote. Okay, so they're still talking, and that's why it can go on sometimes for 2 days or 3 days. But if you have like 9-3, and those three say no, I'm not changing my mind, then I think that's considered a hung jury.
Gotcha.
Well, there's one more story coming out of this morning. The New York Times reporting on the weekend that the ethics panel, they have an ethics panel for judges there in New York, and part of their standards for judges is that if you're involved with a political case like this, then you should recuse yourself as a judge if you've contributed to a political enemy, in this case, to Joe Biden. Well, this judge, Juan Merchan, has contributed money to the Biden administration. He's also contributed money to a group called Stop Republicans. He also has a daughter who is a very aggressive Democrat activist. And you remember at the start of this, Trump lawyers tried to get him to recuse himself, and he refused. Well, this ethics panel, according to the New York Times, has now issued a warning that you should have recused yourself. Now, I guess the upshot of this is if Trump is found guilty, then his lawyers can use this ethics panel assessment of all of this in an appeal. So right from the get-go. And then Trump this morning, we don't have this audio, but Trump this morning just went at this judge again. He should have recused himself a long time ago. And once again, Trump, as he's been doing every day before the trial begins and at the end of the day, it said this is a total sham. So this is the New York Times reporting on this judge, that he should have recused himself according to this ethics standard.
By the way, I'm just looking at it looks like it's a pretty breaking story here from the New York Times.
You guys really love the New York Times today, don't you?
I really don't, because it's usually behind a paywall,
Right?
And I don't love them for other reasons as well. But apparently, the judge is now saying that closing arguments are probably not going to happen until next week.
Oh, really?
And that's just within the last hour. And so, and he's talking about, this is Juan Merchan, that the calendar, the court calendar, he says explaining it as being because of the court calendar. So the closing arguments would be next week, and then I guess that you'd have the jury deliberation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
all right. Well, we'll wait and see what happens there. Could be next week.
And I do think it's interesting that this Judge Merchan has all these ties to the Democratic left.
Yeah. He should have recused himself.
He should have recused himself. But you know what? Human nature, if you want to be a star,
yeah,
then you want to preside over this case.
Right.
This is, you've got a
high profile.
You may have a book deal later on, and it's really hard to turn that down.
Judge Judy retires.
Yes.
Who they gonna call?
That's right. So I'm just guessing that he, in another case, you go, yeah, I'll recuse myself. Who wants to deal with that mess? But in a high profile case like this, who knows where it can take you.
But also, I would say in the state of New York, it'd probably be really hard to find a judge that's not a Democrat.
Right.
Huh?
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? And they usually give to their trial lawyers before they become judges. They all give to Democrat presidential campaigns.
Yeah.
So it'd be. But we'll see. what happens with the verdict. So the verdict likely next week.
That's, I guess.
Well, and that's according to the New York Times. Consider the source. But this is what it says. The judge in the criminal trial of former President Donald J. Trump said on Monday that the case would take longer than anticipated to wrap up, with closing arguments now not expected until next week.
So that tells me, because this morning the speculation was that Michael Cohen would be the last witness and that Trump's lawyers didn't plan to call any witnesses.
Yeah.
That's why they were talking about summations tomorrow. So something has happened this morning. Does the judge?
Well, let me ask you this: Is Trump going to testify? Maybe.
Most of the experts say that would be foolish.
I'm just thinking why it may be next week.
Yeah, I'm a little puzzled by that story.
Yeah.
From the New York Times, because that goes against everything that's been talked about through the weekend.
Yeah.
In other words, if you think you've got a win in the bag, there's no point in putting your client up there on the stand, right?
Yes.
This also says Mr. Trump's lawyers said that he has yet to decide whether he would testify. And it is unclear whether his lawyers might call other witnesses.
Okay.
So obviously this case is still a little bit in flux.
Yeah.
And so I guess we will have to wait a little longer to find out what this jury thinks.
All right, next story, Fred.
Well, President Joe Biden was
Next story, Fred.
was busy on the weekend. He spoke to the historically black Morehouse College, and
That's in Atlanta, I think. I think Morehouse is in Atlanta.
Yeah. But anyway, I wanted you to hear a little bit about what he had to say at this graduation ceremony at this historically black college. Cut number 7.
You missed your high school graduation. You started college just as George Floyd was murdered. And there was a reckoning on race. What is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, what is democracy? Betrayal of broken promises still leave black communities behind. What is democracy? You have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot.
Just stop that. Just stop that. I can't take that anymore.
What's the matter? You don't like a little pandering on a Monday morning?
What a voice of inspiration at a graduation ceremony, huh? You want to hear this? Yeah, Captain Pander there. What's the point? What's he doing? You know what? He's not. You know what he's not doing right there? He's not speaking to those college graduates to uplift and to inspire and to give them a bright vision of America and what they can accomplish in their lives, and to congratulate them. Of course, I didn't hear the whole speech, but what he's doing right there, he's just stoking anti-white racism. That's what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And he's saying, you can't do it. The white man's going to keep you down. If not, he's going to kill you. And I guess he ended with, you better vote for me.
Or you ain't black.
Or you ain't black. I mean, that's just what George Floyd.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You started college right when George Floyd was killed.
Right.
And
and then we had a reckoning on race.
We had a reckoning on race.
Yeah.
If we had the reckoning on race, why are you bringing it up 3 years later? We already had a reckoning.
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, some people who have talked about this already this morning said, wait a minute, who's been president the last 3.5 years?
Yeah.
So you're saying this is the current situation?
Yeah. It always will be. For the Democrats, it always will be. Mm-hmm. They can't have the race card go away because they use that to stoke animosity so you vote. The only way you have a chance to end racism in America is to vote Democrat. That's what he's saying. And they'll be saying that 10 years from now and 20 years from now if they can.
If he was asked by members of the legacy media, if they had said to him, right, President Biden heard your speech in front of, was it Morehouse, you said? Morehouse? Yes. Mm-hmm. To the graduating class, you've been president for the last 3.5 years. Right. Why are black men still dying in the streets?
Right.
Then he says it's because of Republicans, because Republicans won't do what we want. So he never has to answer. First of all, the legacy media is not going to ask him the question. I'm not going to ask anyone connected with the administration that question. And second of all, even if one of them got a wild hair and decided to, the answer's always going to be Republicans. Therefore, you have to vote Democrat. Yeah. So who doesn't want to ask? A legitimate member of the media is going to say, black men dying in the streets, that's usually at the hands of other black men, Mr.
Yes.
President.
Yes.
What are you doing to stop that?
Yes.
Right.
You know? So, listen, it's absolute pandering. I hesitate to say this because I don't know if you guys know this or not. I'm not black. Okay.
Yeah.
But if I was a black person, student sitting in that, listening to him speak, I would think, how dumb do you think we are? I know why you're telling us this. You want to be reelected. You don't care about the black community, or you'd be in support of school choice. So that you would be in support of school vouchers.
And of punishing criminals.
Locking them away.
Yeah.
They're running our streets. They're running our neighborhoods. They commit a
criminals
crime.
are ruining the African-American communities, especially in the big cities.
They're stealing at Walgreens and at CVS, and
right.
those stores are shutting their doors.
Right.
I have to go 10 miles
right.
to get my medications instead of going to the store in the corner because you support
right.
Prosecuting attorneys who let criminals back out on the streets.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be saying.
Well, and the Democrats and Joe Biden are well aware of what all the polls are saying. The movement within the black and Hispanic community is incredible towards Trump.
Right.
And to that point, there was a rally in the Bronx on the weekend, a pro-Trump rally in the Bronx. And New York City Council member Pastor Ruben Diaz, he was on with Fox this morning to explain why blacks and Hispanics are coming over to Trump. Cut number 8.
Our community is getting frustrated day by day with President Biden and the Democrats. They have been using us for too long, but this time it's too much. I mean, the open border, the groceries, you can't even purchase. It's gas, everything, crime, abuse against the police officer, tying up the hands of judges. So we tire, and more, day by day, more and more Hispanic and black minority, right. we are switching, we are changing, we are awakening.
Well, I listen. I gotta say, I'd have to disagree. What's this gentleman's name?
His name, Pastor Ruben Diaz.
Okay, I do have to disagree with him on one thing. It's hard to get a real grip here on the pulse. You're talking about the Bronx. That's MAGA country, just like Chicago. Okay, this is MAGA country to start
right.
with. I mean, you go to a Subway.
You got red hats everywhere.
You go to a Subway at 2 a.m.
Right.
Man, you're gonna find MAGA people everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Dangerous.
sure that this is really a sign of the trends in the real cities. So
tongue in cheek.
All that tongue in cheek.
But it's just true. You notice Biden didn't say anything about the Bidenomics and what a great thing they're doing
right.
for, because black people go to grocery stores and they face the same thing as brown and white people. Increased prices. I mean, grocery prices in this country, at some estimates, are between 28 and 30% more.
Yeah, it depends on you. We've all seen these lists of over the last 3.5 years how prices have climbed. It'll talk about gas. Prices have gone up, whatever, 30%. Bread, 28%. Milk, 33%. You see these long lists, but it's all going in that direction.
Yes.
By 20, 25, 30%. And in some cases, it's even higher, depending on what you're buying. So pasta. Listen, I don't even want to tell you how pasta's going through the roof. So first and foremost, people care about their daily lives. Ideology is great, but it comes second. And party and partisanship, all those things come second, and third, economy, whether you're safe, whether your kids are getting an education, all those kinds of things, whether there's economic opportunity, all those things come first. And if you're going to keep the loyalty of a voting constituency, you'd better have policies in place that address those issues in a successful manner, or partisanship, ideology, those things are not going to cause someone to vote against their own basic self-interest, I don't think.
No, what is it? James Carville says it's the economy, stupid.
Right. That was in 1992.
And I don't know if you've heard James Carville recently. He's saying Democrats aren't doing anything right.
Right.
They are not.
And he still hates Republicans and conservatives.
Oh,
James
yes.
Carville.
Yeah.
But he at least is a realist when it comes to economic issues, crime, so on and so forth.
All right, you're listening to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim Wildman with Ed Vitagliano and Fred Jackson. Okay, is that all? We got any more Joe Biden stories today? Because I just want to get them over with.
No.
Get them behind us. It's
I'm
just Monday, and
I'm going to spare you.
I started out with a sunny attitude, but Fred brought up Fred had to bring up Joe Biden's name.
I'm not
What?
sure.
What now?
I'm not sure.
No more Biden stories.
You just
No
came,
more
you
Biden
just came
stories.
back. You went to a couple of your grandkids'
Yeah,
kindergarten graduation or something.
yeah.
Good
Just-
attitude, happy
That's
about
right.
the future.
I'm watching these cute. This morning at 8:30, I went to. You're right. Kindergarten graduation. We all been to those, right?
Yeah, I got one coming up later this week.
Okay, kindergarten graduation. Anyway, it's something always funny happens at these things, right?
Yeah.
And all these cute kids and the teachers introducing them for the awards they won, and then telling them what they, when they're that young, everybody gets a trophy, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because you don't want to,
Right.
Get a little older, you start just
Weeding out the losers.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I wasn't going to say it like that, but
I'm kidding.
the Italian just laid it straight out there from Boston. So these two little boys were back to back, right? And one of them goes, well, Johnny, whatever his name, I can't remember. Johnny, he got the loyalty award, and he says when he grows up, he wants to be an astronaut. Okay. And then the next kid is, let's see. The teacher goes, now Sam here, he wins the Good Neighbor Award, and he says when he grows up, he wants to drive monster trucks. Those were back to back. Astronaut and monster truck. Now, which one would you choose, Ed? If you're
My son Tony,
yeah.
who's now he turned out. I always tell people he turned out to be much smarter than I thought he would. Okay, but when he was that age, he said he wanted to drive a garbage truck.
A garbage truck.
Because he saw heard that some a guy driving a garbage truck found a cup with one of those giveaways from like Wendy's or something like that, and won $250,000.
Whoa!
But it was a big truck and all kinds of stuff in there that you never know what's in there.
Oh, yeah.
So his goal when he was little, he wanted to drive a garbage truck.
Not
that there's anything wrong with that.
No, nothing.
Okay, but that's not what you normally think they're going to say. Astronaut, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a police officer, or whatever.
I just thought the monster truck astronaut, in their own ways, they contribute to the world, right? All right. We will be back with more. Fred says no more Joe Biden stories.
I will refrain.
We'll see if he can hold to that.
All right.
That energetic rascal, he's at the center of everything. It's hard to have a story without Joe Biden.
I may trip you up.
All right. We'll be back in a minute. Stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
Back many years ago, an elderly couple, a man and his wife, were passing through Philadelphia. Being tired in the night, half gone, they searched for a hotel where they could get some rest. Every hotel they went to told them the same thing. Sorry, we're filled up. Finally, in desperation, the couple tried a little third-class hotel. As they entered the hotel, the man went to the night clerk and spoke. "Mister, please don't tell me you haven't got a room. We've searched all over town for a room, but the conventions have filled up our usual hotels. We're so tired. Please don't tell me that you don't have a room where we could get some rest." The night clerk looked at the couple, saw how tired they were, and then spoke. "I'm so sorry, sir, but our hotel is completely full." The expressions on the couple's faces turned to disappointment. They started to walk out. Then the night clerk spoke again. "Sir," he said, "I have a room which I'll not be using tonight. I have the night shift and will be working all night. It isn't a fancy room, not as nice as the others, but it is clean, and if you wish, I would be happy for you to be my guest for tonight." Well, their faces lit up with gladness. Their disappointment was turned to happiness. The woman spoke. "God bless you, young man." Feeling like $1 million, the clerk showed them to his room. Next morning, the couple went to eat breakfast. At the table, they sent the waiter to get the night clerk. They sent a message they wanted to see him. Entering the room, the clerk spotted the couple. With a smile on his face, he spoke. "Hope you got a good night's rest and everything was fine." Both the man and the woman thanked the clerk for his kindness. After exchanging a few words, the elderly man changed the subject. "Young man," he said, "you're too fine a hotel man to stay in a hotel like this. How would you like for me to build a large, expensive, luxury hotel in the city of New York and make you the manager of it?" Well, the young man sat there for a moment. He did not know exactly what to say. He wondered if the gentleman's mind was right. Finally, after searching for something to say, he stammered out these words, It sounds wonderful." You know, that young man didn't have to put those people up for the night. He could have turned them away. He had a good reason, and people have been turned away before. Remember Bethlehem? Already every major hotel in Philadelphia had turned them away, but this young man had something about him that refused to turn them away. He wanted to help, to be kind, do unto others. He did that. He followed the carpenter's command. It wasn't long after that a new hotel went up in New York City. It was one of the greatest hotels ever built. They named it the Waldorf Astoria, and the young night clerk became the manager and one of the world's greatest hotel men. The gentleman he shared his room with was William Waldorf Astor.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knows those who take refuge in him. Nahum 1, verse 7.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Hey, if you want to watch this show on the internet, we live stream. Or how can they do that, Ed?
Well, there are a few options for you. If you want to watch the live video stream of this program and others on American Family Radio, you can go to Facebook and search for Today's Issues. You can go to YouTube and search for Today's Issues Live. You can go to our own streaming platform, stream.afa.net, stream.afa.net. Very simple to sign up and get an account. I think just your name and email address, and then you can watch the live video stream. You can go to X, formerly known as Twitter, and search for American Family Radio. And we do encourage folks to get the app. You can listen to the live audio stream on the app for American Family Radio. So there's all kinds of ways. You can go to afr.net on your computer, and we have a live audio stream located there for all our programming. There are also podcasts of shows that you might have missed by going to afr.net.
Hey, before we move on from Biden, I'm the one who said no more Biden.
Yeah.
Talk.
Just can't give it up.
Okay,
I
I
got
got
an addiction.
I'm taking bets here, and we're not betting people, but if we were,
Right.
if I were a bookie, okay. So I'm taking your.
Okay.
Biden will be the nominee in November. Yes or no, for the Democrats? What? Give me your chances.
I say it's 50-50.
All right, Fred. You what do you say?
At this stage, I think there are not a lot of options. I'm surprised Ed didn't bring up Michelle Obama.
Well, now, okay.
Hey,
Now, if Biden can't do it, okay, if he gets to the convention, and the Democrats are in August, is that their convention?
Yeah.
I was getting flip
I
flops.
think they're in Chicago
And so,
or Chicago, depending on where you live.
if they get to the convention and Biden cannot because of health, then I think Michelle Obama becomes a real possibility because the convention then would have to select another.
Okay.
But I think it's 50-50. I think that last year I would have given you 40-60. I thought they would have tried to get rid of Biden, but I think they're going with Biden.
Mm-hmm.
I think his health would have to seriously decline for him not to be the nominee. But I think so 50-50. That's my odds.
You think he would fake at some point? Fake like I really am not feeling bad, just because of the party is turning against him.
I don't think he would. No, I don't think he would fake it. First of all, I don't think he would have to fake it. I think he would be able to say, "Listen, talk to my doctors, and I do have declining mental health. I'm not mental health, but brain function, dementia, whatever." I don't think he'd have to fake that. But I think he wants to. I think he wants to.
Yes.
Be reelected.
Oh yes.
So I don't think they'd be able to pressure him. I don't think.
Well, if they would have been able to pressure him out, he'd have been out now.
He would have just said, "I'm going to finish my term, but I'm not running for reelection."
But I think like you, I do think it's 50-50 for a multitude of reasons. Well, at least.
What odds do you give, Fred?
Well, I probably a little bit 75-25. 75 that he's going to run, 25 allowing for the possibility. But it's getting so late for the Democrats.
It would have to it'd have to be an open convention.
What if he bombs in the debate in June?
You know, people talk about that, but then I go back to the State of the Union, and Biden showed up.
Yeah.
Now Trump is saying he was on drugs. I don't know.
Do we have sound for that, or is that something
Trump said he needs to be drug tested?
Yes.
Yes.
Which is not going to happen.
No.
There's no way he's going to be drug tested.
No, but
what?
Sounds like a top flight boxing match coming up. I demand my opponent be drug tested.
We want to weigh in.
Yeah. Nobody can look like that naturally.
Yeah.
I personally think that Biden. Okay, this is terrible what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I have zero evidence of this, and I don't normally like to do this because it sounds like I'm.
You mean raw speculation?
Raw speculation.
Yeah.
But
leave that to me.
Talking about 2020 in the debates, just going by Biden's performance when he was just speaking, giving speeches whenever he came out from his basement, and the way he looked in his debates, I was asking the question, can you give someone, what kind of drugs do you give someone to give them energy for 2 hours? Is there something that exists like that? That's the way it looked to me, just the difference between performance over here and performance at the debates. So Trump is probably playing on those kinds of speculations. He's playing to the crowd, people like me.
Saying Biden needs to be drug tested?
Well, it'll never happen.
No.
But I'm guessing, is there some cocktail?
I think he's just kidding.
Do you? But I think
Trump. I think Trump's just. I think Trump knows there's not going to be a drug test. He just.
But why even joke about that unless people are wondering if doctors are going to give President Biden a drug cocktail to make him sound coherent.
All right, let me ask you this question. I don't see any doctors on this panel, nor do I see any scientists.
Right. No.
We all took chemistry,
Yeah.
different grades,
Right.
probably.
I took a physics class in college.
Really? Took it?
Yeah.
I give you credit for that, taking a physics class. How does a cocktail of drugs make you better at doing a presidential debate? That doesn't make any sense to me. You talking about something that could whack you out.
Well, no, I'm saying.
Why not take it every day, all day? If
that-
it's going to be good for you. A drug
yeah.
cocktail.
No,
I'll
I mean,
let you
but-
answer. Go ahead.
Well, no, I think. Listen. Okay, so now you've.
Well, you're
now
the
you
one that
got
brought
me,
up drug
I know.
testing.
Now you forced me to the end of the pier, and now I got to jump in and I got to swim. Okay, there are drugs that do make you alert. I don't know if they're
Biden
illegal.
needs to take them then. Are you agree?
Yeah, but I think there are consequences to like speed. Okay, I'm not saying that you would take speed illegally, but speed gives you energy, makes you able to talk faster, but then you crash, and
That's what we need.
there are consequences to taking it all the time.
Right, I know.
And I'm not saying that they would give him illegal drugs, but I have to imagine that there's some kind of cocktail of drugs that make you sound great for 2 hours.
Well, I would give him that.
Well, I just go back to the State of the Union address. He performed far better than what I thought he would.
Capable of, whether
yes.
better than he was
The other
capable.
thing we have to remember, in these debates, he's got friends asking the
In
questions.
low places.
CNN, Jake Tapper, who Trump refers to as fake Tapper.
Yeah.
But Jake Tapper and Dana,
Hey.
whoever the other CNN personality, they're the ones going to be asking the questions. So you do some softball throws there for questions. He knows what's coming. He's got the responses. He can look. I think everybody is lowballing their expectations of Joe Biden right now in debates, and he can come up and perform like he did for the State of the Union, and people are going to say, "Hey, well, let me rethink this idea that maybe Biden can't do it." I just think there's some dangers.
I do think he benefits from, this applies to the world of sports or whatever. When you have low expectations of a performer or an athlete or a team,
yeah.
When you have low expectations going in, and then that person does relatively well, you go, wow.
Yes.
I didn't think they would be able to do anything, and now they did better than I expected.
Okay, so I looked this up.
Okay.
Drug cocktail for mental performance, because frankly, I was embarrassed just tossing these ideas out. But
Should I write this cocktail down?
4 years ago, I did have these questions, and I think I looked some of this up.
Okay.
But there are answers that pop up. There are drugs to increase mental and physical energy. They are CNS stimulants.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna give the names of these drugs because I don't.
We don't want to encourage.
I don't want to
that.
get sued.
No.
But so there's 4 listed here.
Are they generic? Or
They do have generic names.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'll just give. I won't. I'll
That's
give.
why I'm saying we're not giving a brand name. You're giving a generic name.
So generic name: amphetamine, dextroamphetamine, modafinil, dexmethylphenidate. Okay. Anyway, then you go to drugs.com. It says there are performance-enhancing brain drugs. Nootropics and smart drugs refer to natural, synthetic, and prescription substances that enhance mental function. Prescription smart drugs such as Adderall and Ritalin have the strongest and most significant effects on memory and
That's
attention.
what they give to kids with
Yeah.
ADD and
Now,
stuff.
some of those may be you don't take them for one night. You take them over a course of whatever, and it maybe builds something up. But there are, here, healthline.com, the 14 best nootropics and smart drugs reviewed. So apparently there is something there. I don't know whether you take those for a one night performance, but at least it looks like there are stimulants to increase mental and physical
Okay,
energy.
there are, and again, I'm no expert on this. There are, stimulants.
Yeah.
That everybody's, people take them for various different reasons.
Right.
Sometimes they get addicted to it, like the crystal meth and all that. But there are stimulants that can serve the purpose of, like people take Red Bull, right?
Right.
To drive so they don't fall asleep when they got to drive overnight or
Right.
whatever like that. Now, there is a price to pay down the road.
Yes.
You do crash from whatever it is that you're doing. But for a short period of time, it can help you. But I don't think it helps. Anyway, I just don't think it. I don't think a presidential debate. You go, okay, it's we got 59 minutes. Time to give the shot.
Yeah.
To Biden. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Go B12 shot.
Yeah.
And
Get him in here.
Yeah.
Take
your
I just
Adderall.
don't think. And personally, I know people had thought earlier that Biden was being controlled by former President Obama or whoever. Maybe the influence is there in the administration, although I think a lot of these people are far left of Obama on most things. But I will say this. I think Biden has reached the stage of he's not going to listen to Obama or anybody else because they're not president and they can't tell him what to do. And if he wants to run again, that's his choice. And he thinks he's doing a great job. Listen to him.
Yep.
He thinks he's doing a great job. So, and somebody gets in the condition that he is in. We've all known people that get stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
And that people get set in their ways. Are they, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I think it's 50-50 that he's the candidate, because if you get to mid-July and the Democrats think we're going to get wiped out,
Right.
then trading horses is at least worth a shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think Biden has to agree to it.
Yes.
He has to agree to it.
Well, he's not going to.
And
I doubt it.
I think
I doubt it.
that's
Yeah.
the problem.
He wants it badly.
Right,
Yes.
but now maybe you can give him a drug to make him want to. Give him some kind of opposite drug.
Yeah.
That makes him say, "Hey, I just want to go to the beach. I don't care about being president."
Right.
Whatever drug that is.
Yeah.
I would look at that. I'm just saying I would look at it. I would say I'd give it to him.
Right.
All right, next story, Fred.
All right. Well, people are still talking about the speech that Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker gave at the Catholic College, Benedictine College, last week, where he outlined his faith tenets, and they go in line with what the official teaching of the Catholic Church is. One of the things that, have upset some people is what he had to say about women. He didn't say women could choose a career. He just said most of you probably want to get married and have children. That was one of the things.
And he said that they would be happier.
And they would be happier. And, the NFL responds to it, a bunch of other people. But he also has his supporters, one of them being Patricia Heaton, who is a Roman Catholic. She played the wife on Everybody Loves Raymond. And we already know she's very strong pro-life in her views. But she had this to say about Butker and his right to portray his beliefs. Cut number 6.
So what? It's his opinion. He can have one. He's allowed. He's not a monster for stating what he believes. I find nothing offensive about what he said, even though my life is very different. And he might even look at my life and say, that's not the way it should be. That's okay. That's his opinion.
Yeah. I guess she's referring to the fact she has a career.
Yeah, she was a working mom.
Yeah.
I don't think did he ever say women working is a sin?
No.
No.
Okay.
He never said.
He did say that in terms of what makes women happier, he did say that women who forego their careers at least for a while to raise their children, who are full-time moms and wives, are happier. And I listen. There's plenty of. It's first of all probably a very biblical idea. There's probably a lot of social science that lines up with it. I think I've read plenty of studies where women say, "Listen, I'd rather stay home and be with my kids, but we can't afford it. We have to have two incomes." But it's an idea that people can argue about and disagree about. rather than what's now happening, trying to get the
cancel
guy
him?
canceled.
Right.
You know, I mean, listen.
But was that the reason they're trying to cancel him? The left?
Oh, he was very critical of Pride Month, push for diversity, DEI, all that kind of stuff.
He hit all the hot
went,
buttons, huh?
Yeah, he went after everybody. And listen, it's a brave dude who does that. But he is a Catholic who believes Catholic teaching.
He's speaking at Catholic college.
Speaking
Catholic
at
students.
a Catholic college. Listen, he probably is closer to Catholic teaching than a lot of bishops in America who seem embarrassed at what the Catholic Church teaches. So it's really extraordinary that he has become such a lightning rod at a small,
but you know what?
His school speech.
His NFL jersey is the number one selling NFL jersey.
Yeah.
And he's a kicker.
Yes.
I mean, kickers usually don't get the number
he's
one jersey.
A really good kicker.
Oh, yeah.
He's probably going to save his career.
Oh, yeah. He arguably the best kicker in the NFL.
I mean, the Chiefs cannot get rid of him. They can't fire him because of his religious beliefs. That's a lawsuit that he will win.
No, even if they have liberal standards.
Right.
Which is oxymoron.
If he was a kicker that was on the cusp,
then you could
mediocre. Yeah, you just say, listen, we're getting rid of him because he's not a very good kicker. They can't get rid of this guy.
No, somebody will pick him up pretty quick. They're not going to get rid of him. In fact, kudos to the family of the owners of the Kansas City Chiefs. Hunt is their last name. Is that right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Well, the Hunt
family.
They used to own.
Oh, they verbally stood behind him.
Yeah.
Right.
The daughter, who is quite vocal out there,
Right.
she was on Fox and Friends Friday morning, I think it was. They're proud of him.
Yeah, they're a Christian family.
Yes.
From what I can tell, I don't know how conservative. Well, he better be glad this didn't happen in like New York or L.A. because he probably would have been canceled. Kansas City is a good place to be if you're going to be a conservative.
Yes.
In terms of the geographic
But
area.
it has been clear within the quote unquote feminist camp that they argue for women's choice, whether to dismember your baby in an abortion or whether it's to choose whatever career you want. They're all for women's choice until a woman says, I want to be a mom and a wife. I want to be a stay-at-home mom. Then they come out with the knives.
Yep.
Okay, so that's what is happening here. Listen, all you ladies out there, we probably have a lot of them that work. That's fine. Listen, you that's your choice, okay? But for the feminist community, they hate it when a woman chooses to stay at home. And I understand that there are probably a lot of moms that want to but can't because nowadays it almost does require two incomes for a lot of families, and moms do it, and they do it, listen, courageously and tirelessly because then they come home and then they have to be mom and they have to do all the mom stuff. That is a very hard row to hoe. So, listen, these women are oftentimes heroic. They're exhausted because they have to work to help their husbands pay the bills, and then they come home and they cook supper and all that. That's not easy. But for these hypocrites in the feminist camp who say, yeah, women's choice, just don't choose to be a mom.
Yeah.
Stay-at-home mom.
Next story, Fred.
Well, you may remember this name, Dr. Robert Redfield. Dr. Robert Redfield. His face you probably saw on television a lot during the height of COVID. He is a former director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and was often brought on various networks as an expert as to how to deal with COVID. Well, he is making news once again because of what he's had to say in recent days. He says we have to be honest. Some people got significant side effects from the vaccine. I have a number of people that are quite ill and they never had COVID, but they are ill from the vaccine. And we just have to acknowledge that. And that's going to be a growing story. Many of the mainstream media have tried to suppress the reports that have been out there of people who did not have COVID, as Dr. Redfield is saying, but they got the shot, and there have been side effects from it. And he is just simply saying it is time that we acknowledge that there were side effects to this vaccine, and some people, current, present tense, are still suffering from this.
Listen, this Dr. Redfield, Robert Redfield, also said, I remember him from last year, he was testifying before Congress. He said he was sidelined from discussions about the origins of the virus, too.
Mm-hmm.
He said he suspected a lab leak and I think also gain-of-function research. But this is a person who had a very high-profile position, head of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And I think, and we've said this all along, the further we go from 2020, the more the truth is going to come out about this fiasco over COVID. And I don't think the Anthony Fauci side of the debates over these kinds of issues are going to come out well. I think they're going to be revealed to have been doing nefarious things.
Do you notice, and maybe it's just because, how you believe, but about the COVID vaccines, have you noticed how many people are dying suddenly and unexpectedly, just dropping dead? 33 years old, 48 years old. Yesterday, 58-year-old CNN commentator just dropped dead, they said. Now, people have heart attacks.
Right.
People have strokes. People have aneurysms where they just drop dead. You know what I'm saying? So that does happen, but it just seems like more and more you're hearing about younger people doing this.
Right.
By younger, I mean under 60, under 50, just dropping dead.
Well, who's the Japanese expert that he was in the news over the weekend or the tail end of last week, referring to this very thing you're talking about, saying, listen, there is no way if you compare the data, because just to what you just said, the pro-vaccine folks are saying, listen, unexpected deaths happen all the time. This Japanese expert, he said, no, not like they are now.
Right.
He said, and I think he used the word murder. He said, this is basically murder because
he's talking about turbo cancer too.
Yes, turbo cancer.
You talking about the same story I'm talking about with it was the equivalent of a CDC director in the U.S. in Japan.
Yes.
Okay, like a top doctor, top scientist, whatever, a health professional in Japan. And he's saying he was unequivocal about it. Read what he said. I mean, when I read that, I was a little bit stunned that a guy would talk so openly about that. And, the clot, some people call them the clot shots, because of the myocarditis. Is that the right way to say that?
Yep.
Happening especially among younger people. And the autoimmune.
Yes.
Megyn Kelly says she got the COVID vaccine shot. She said it caused her to have autoimmune disease that she's talking about publicly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find.
Listen, there's always a risk down through history with vaccines, right? We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But vaccines that you trust have stood the test of time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Not one that's rushed to market in 6 months and then forced on you. Either you get this experimental shot or you lose your job.
Yes.
This is Professor Emeritus Dr. Masanori Fukushima.
We can talk about we can talk about that more when we get back.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
Dr. Travis was a man that was full of life.
Bert Harper of Exploring the Word.
He loved the Word of God, and it came across in the classroom. Dr. Travis put in my heart a desire to know God through His Word. And that's what we're trying to do on Exploring the Word.
Exploring the Word, weekday afternoons at 3 Central on American Family Radio. This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
For American Family News, I'm Chris Woodward. Iran's president and foreign minister were both killed in a helicopter crash over the weekend. Talking about this on Fox's America's Newsroom program, Florida Congressman Michael Waltz weighed in on how their deaths could impact the succession for the country's supreme leader.
The thing to watch, though, is the secession plan for the Ayatollah. If we're going to see drastic changes in Iran, if we're going to see internal stability, the Ayatollah is quite elderly, could die at any minute. Raisi was seen as a key part in helping with the transition to the Ayatollah's son.
Iran's vice president has already taken up the president's duties until a new election can be held. Iran hasn't given a cause for the crash, but weather conditions were foggy and impacted search and rescue operations. Julian Assange is dodging American prison once again. Fox's Greg Palcott.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange can appeal against extradition to the United States, a London court ruled on Monday. 52-year-old Assange has been indicted on 17 espionage charges over his website's publication of a bunch of classified U.S. documents almost 15 years ago. The Australian has spent the last 5 years in a British prison after taking refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy in London for 7 years. Lawyers for Assange argued that the U.S. provided blatantly inadequate assurances the WikiLeaks founder would have free press protections if extradited to the U.S. The court today agreed. His supporters cheered and applauded the news outside.
A far-left California professor has just written a book in which she postulates that romance promotes white supremacy. In fact, she argues that romance is white supremacy. Bob Kellogg has this story.
In her book, The End of Love, Racism, Sexism, and the Death of Romance, University of California, Santa Barbara Black Studies professor Sabrina Strings confesses she has endured numerous bad relationships. Matt Lamb of the College Fix says Strings is wrong to blame
white supremacy when there are other problems, like she mentions, pornography, could be other problems with drugs, alcohol, careerism that could be playing a role, but I don't think it's white supremacy that's to blame.
Lamb supposes Strings could be creating more problems than she's intending to address.
Taking her at her word that she wants people to be in healthy relationships, she should not be turning it into a racial issue, a political issue, but instead focusing on how romance and relationships can be repaired.
Further, the Fix reports that Strings questions how colonization and slavery conspired to prevent black women from being viable long-term romantic partners. I'm Bob Kellogg.
People are still talking about that graduation speech from Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker. Some folks in KC and other parts of the country think the team ought to fire him for giving a conservative speech about traditional marriage and values. But actress Patricia Heaton doesn't have a problem with what he said.
So what? It's his opinion. He can have one. He's allowed. He's not a monster for stating what he believes. I find nothing offensive about what he said.
More on the speech and the reaction on AFN.net. The Red Lobster chain has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy reorganization. Fox's Jenny Casola.
Red Lobster plans to sell the business to a group of its creditors and reinvent itself as a smaller restaurant chain. It is the largest seafood chain in the U.S. Red Lobster had 650 locations before shutting dozens of restaurants. The closed locations spanned around 20 states and included some in Denver, San Diego, Indianapolis, San Antonio, and Orlando. Red Lobster has been dealing with high debt. Its all-you-can-eat shrimp deal, designed to turn the chain around, instead resulted in millions of dollars in losses.
And there's a new record for oldest person in space. Ed Dwight made the trip over the weekend with a company owned by Amazon's Jeff Bezos. Dwight was America's first black astronaut candidate in the early 1960s, but he was never picked. Dwight is 90 years old. Find more news on AFN.net.
So I just joined 1 Million Moms.
But
I know I should have done it a few years ago when you sent your email about the trash in the media, but it just didn't seem to be worth it then.
So what
Oh my
changed?
goodness, have you seen that preview? It's pornographic.
Media isn't going to get better until concerned consumers get involved. 1 Million Moms has been calling on us to do just that for 14 years, with many successes along the way. When you see something, say something at 1millionmoms.com. That's 1millionmoms.com.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network for this Monday, May the 20th, 2024. Thanks for listening to AFR. Hey, if you missed the show or any shows we have here on AFR and you want to download the podcast, then just go to afr.net, click on podcast, and you'll see the banners for all the various shows we have here on American Family Radio, and you can listen on demand. So it's very simple to do. afr.net, click on podcast, and there you go. Listen, if you missed this show or any of the other shows you want to listen to. So joining me in studio is Eva Tagliano and Steve Paisley Jordahl.
Morning.
Good morning, Brother Steve.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm well. I am very well. Thank you.
All right. So NASCAR, your sport.
Yeah.
We talked about hockey.
Yeah.
So they had
Yeah.
us get a NASCAR update. Over to you, Steve.
Well, they had the All-Star race yesterday, and a hockey fight broke out. After the race,
brother,
two of the best drivers in the
there was
garage
actually a fight?
started throwing punches, yeah.
Maybe I need to start watching NASCAR.
Yeah, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Kyle Busch.
What were they fighting about?
Well, Stenhouse thought that Kyle Busch thought that Stenhouse ran him into the fence. It was like lap 2 of the race. Now, this was a race that wasn't counting. There was no points, didn't count for the standings, but you got $1 million if you win. And,
Well, did he push him into the?
I've seen that he didn't give him a whole lot of room on the outside by the fence. So Kyle Busch went and drove into the back of Stenhouse and pushed him and wrecked him out of the race.
So they both were out?
No. Kyle could still – he didn't finish well, but he could still run.
But he got his pound of flesh.
Yeah, right there. he'll be paying for it too.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was clear that he hit him on purpose, kind of thing?
Oh, yes.
All right.
Yeah, it was under caution, and he drove past like 5 or 6 cars to get up to his back bumper. And,
So you're saying when the race is over, the two race car drivers start physically duking it out?
Yes, Stenhouse went up to Kyle Busch because usually when something like that happens, they talk, sometimes angrily, but usually they just talk it out and then it's done.
Yelling, talking about their mamas and all that.
Yeah, right. Kyle Busch said, "I don't think I did anything to you," and Stenhouse didn't like it and threw a punch.
Well, so
connect?
Did the teams get involved?
Yes. Yeah, it was right up in front of the haulers, and the teams were all there. And it was
in front of the haulers.
Yes,
down in the holler.
Down in the holler.
So let me ask you this. So
a holler. Let me just real quick.
Yeah, please.
A hauler is a big, huge diesel truck, a big, huge truck that carries the cars.
I got you.
And
I got you.
has their basically their brake.
So it's a truck that hauls.
It's a truck
this
that
is
hauls
not,
cars.
He had
he
was producing moonshine down in the hauler. This is a truck that hauls.
You know, Ed, we see where you're going with this stereotype of NASCAR as running moonshine. Actually, that's where they actually they say that's where it did get its start.
Okay, so apology accepted.
Yeah.
All right, so if I wanted to, just for news purposes, if I wanted to watch this interaction between the two groups, guys with tire irons and all that kind of stuff. I know they don't use
tire irons.
I know they
no, just fist.
tire irons.
That's taking it too far.
Irons. So where would I find this? Like at lunchtime, if I just wanted to kill a couple minutes and
just
see
do
this
the investigation.
Yes, see this interaction.
Here it is, right
There's
here.
the video.
Kyle Busch and who?
You just lost it.
Who we got?
I'm going to look it up.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, who we got duking it out?
Just for curiosity.
Yeah.
Sake. This is bad radio. You're showing me a video.
I am. And
Well,
Stenhouse is talking, Bush is talking, Stenhouse is talking and pointing.
I'm watching.
That's
it.
your
And-
mama
and
over
that's
there.
right.
When she sits
Bush is
around
saying
the
no.
house, she sits
No,
around the house.
bam.
Oh man, you knew that was a powder keg right there, huh?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that's pretty minor. Listen, I can't. I'm ashamed that you likened that to a hockey fight.
they don't have any on.
They don't have gloves to drop.
They don't have any protective equipment at all.
No. Well, they have a whole car around them.
I know, but
when they're on the track. But yeah.
that's not a fight. That's like
That
shoving
wasn't a
on
fight.
the, on
What
the-
was that then?
That's like when kids shove each other on the
No,
playground.
there were punches. There were a couple
All
punches
right.
connected.
And
You
then
can't-
they broke up.
Hey, by the way, I know we got some important news to get to, but I have the most important news of the day.
Okay.
And this is going to be breaking news. You're hearing it here first.
We need some breaking news music.
Good for rock and roll fans.
Okay.
Tom Petty has come back from the dead. Yeah, I know. It's weird.
Come back from the
He
dead.
has come back from the dead. He died a little while ago, but he's back, and he's strangely political these days. It's really weird. Listen to Cut 11.
Weird's a good word.
Yeah.
He's an old guy, has dementia, gets lost each day in the White House yard. All the Dems say that we should re-elect him. How can he run when walking is hard? And Joe keeps falling, yeah, he keeps falling, keeps falling.
That's the
yeah.
Just so Tom Petty didn't come back from the dead.
Right.
Oh,
his music was
maybe.
resurrected.
Maybe.
His music was resurrected to. They'll probably hear from the Tom Petty estate saying, "Can't use that song," But that's a parody, obviously.
Yes.
So he said, Joe Biden keeps falling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can't run. How can he run if
That's
he
a
can't
freak.
even
If
walk?
walking is so hard.
Yeah.
How, can you make fun of people with dementia? Is that acceptable today?
I think we've answered that question
Right.
already.
In spades.
I don't look. We are careful to say. You're usually careful to say to our listening audience, we are not making fun of people with dementia. We are making fun of Joe Biden, who is president. And that's all I'm going to say.
Well, listen. In all seriousness, he may or may not have clinical
Dementia is a medical diagnosis, and we're not doctors.
Yeah, I mean, he may or may not have that.
Yeah.
I mean, but he has cognitive decline that's clearly on display, right? I mean, in various and sundry ways. Some worse. He has some better days, some worse days. Not unlike a lot of other 81-year-old people.
Right.
Or 61-year-old.
Right.
According to Robert Herr, he's a kind, feeble, kind-hearted gentleman that is a little confused about.
But I will say this: somebody in his mental state has no business being president of the United States. Leader of the free world requires full-time, 24/7 time, energy, mental acuteness, awareness, sharpness. I mean, you can't. It doesn't matter whether you're Democrat or Republican. It's a scary thing for people to think somebody's in charge who doesn't know they're in charge.
Right.
Or doesn't know how to take charge.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? All right. Or can be easily misled or manipulated because they're older and they're told one thing, and you know what we all know what I'm talking about.
Or easily led astray with an ice cream cone. That's that's
happened to me.
Yeah,
it can happen.
It
Next story, Steve.
Yeah, I heard you guys talking about the fallout from the Harrison Butker speech and everything last hour.
We talked about it.
That's the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Kicker for the Kansas
You got
City
another
Chiefs.
Tom Petty song for us?
No, but I do have in my hand here a Kansas City. What's the name of the paper in Kansas City? Star. This is an editorial from the editorial staff at Kansas City, and this is the first paragraph. For poetic justice after Harrison Butker's Neanderthal outburst, and because of the pipeline of talent is real, the Kansas City Chiefs' next kicker should be a woman. Not a joke. Not unrealistic.
Well, hold on a second. Is that you saying not a joke, or is that the editorial?
I'm reading it. Not a joke. Not unrealistic.
This is not a joke. Okay. Well, my suspicions are that there are a lot of people in the woke community, including apparently on the editorial
staff at the Star.
Kansas City Star, who know nothing about sports. They have just come out of their mom's basement.
Idiot.
Yeah.
It's an idiot. There is a proper use for the word idiot.
Yes. They suggest some young lady named Maya Turner.
Well,
who
she's
I guess
an idiot.
Soccer. Well, no, she's a soccer player. She's not involved in this. They just pulled her name out of a hat.
Okay.
But here's what they say. She may not be ready to kick in the NFL. Is she as good a kicker as Butker, who has the second best all-time field goal success ratio? Not yet. But she's got 3 more years in the college level to keep getting better.
That's
I know
dumb.
That's dumb. Listen, I should say I shouldn't have called her an idiot. What she said was idiot.
No, she didn't say anything. The
Okay,
Kansas City Star-
yeah. Okay, whoever wrote the Kansas City
Yes.
Star editorial, a lot of what you read was idiocy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the young lady they're talking about, I think I called her an idiot. I didn't mean to because
she's just a soccer
yeah,
player.
she-
Wasn't
so
involved in that at all.
Yeah, I
Just got
take that
named.
back. I didn't mean to say that. I was talking about the writer for the. And I thought I jumped ahead of you there. I rarely do that.
Yeah,
but anyway, so this that's like the kicker. That's like the other day Biden, and I hate to bring his name up again. Biden and others in the left is saying, "Hey, these WNBA players need to be paid the same as the NBA players." Okay, the WNBA, for those who don't know, is the women's. Get that?
Right.
They're going to change that before long. Just to binary, non-binary.
Right.
But women's National Basketball League. The
National Basketball Association.
Yeah, WNBA. This came up because Caitlin Clark, the college basketball phenom, got drafted by the Indiana Fever, the WNBA team, and anyway, a lot of attention given to the sport.
It's
that's
working,
great.
by the way. I would not have known what Indiana's WNBA team was named without that story. So.
I didn't know it until Tim just said it.
But what I'm saying is Biden and these people on the left, they were talking about equal pay as if they're just, again, idiots. Or maybe they're just intentionally trying to manipulate the people who don't understand the free market. Okay, because the players I'm explaining something that's elementary, I know, but the players in professional men's basketball get paid because people come to their ball games and they watch them on television. Okay,
and the TV contract.
Yes,
of
the TV
audience.
contract and the sponsors.
Right.
So the women's professional basketball doesn't have near the eyeballs that the men do. So obviously they're not going to get paid as much. They're not going to get paid a comparable amount. But Biden and the left, they were talking as if, well, we need equal pay because one's a woman and one's a man. You're discriminated against the woman. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It was just, again, how they pander,
right?
Try to get people stirred up and angry, and it's nothing to get stirred up and angry about. It's just people watch the kind of sports that they want to watch.
I would love to. This is President Joe Biden saying this, by the way.
Saying what?
Saying that they should be paid the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
I said he said that.
A great follow-up question from the mainstream media, who's always after the truth, is President Biden, can you name the WNBA team in Washington, D.C.? Could you name them?
Right, and give us 2 players.
Yeah, give us your favorite 2 players.
He wouldn't be able to do it.
Wouldn't be able to do it. Most women in Washington. I'm guessing. I'm wondering the Washington Mystics. All right, they are based in Washington D.C. I had to look this up. I'm guessing that the president doesn't know who that is because guess what? No, very few people care.
Well, the WNBA is subsidized by the NBA.
Right.
To be honest, Joe Biden might have trouble with the Los Angeles Lakers these days. But
well,
listen,
that's probably fair.
I enjoy watching college sports, particularly, and it doesn't matter women or male or female. If it's a good competition, I'll watch it. I mean, I'm just a college sports enthusiast, I guess you could say. I mean, you watch these women play, especially college softball.
I like watching women's softball.
Yes, yeah, it's phenomenal. Well, and they're in their playoffs right now, but it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
The talent and ability and skill that these girls have, it's fun to watch. But now you get certain sports. There's a reason women don't play football. You know, because they're not as physically strong enough to compete with men. Basketball, a lot of these girls and women have incredible skill. Now, they can't dunk.
Right.
You know, they're not going to dunk, but they can shoot the lights out. They have skill.
Yeah.
It's, you know, a lot of people like to watch college. College women's basketball is more popular than professional women's basketball in America. So,
Hey,
anyway.
Since we're on the sports beat, do we need to talk about golf's latest bad boy?
Tell me.
Scotty Scheffler?
Oh, yeah, terrible. Terrible Scotty.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah,
what happened?
The number one golfer in the world on his way to the PGA Championship tournament got arrested.
For what?
Well,
it's not like it sounds. But go ahead.
There was an accident outside of the entrance gate, and unfortunately somebody got killed, and the police had everything blocked off. Scotty Scheffler was driving in a car and he thought he was directed to a median to go around the accident to get in because he had a tee time he wanted to make and everything.
Right.
And a cop told him to stop. He either didn't hear it or didn't want to for about 20 feet, and then got arrested.
Yeah.
Failure to stop?
Yeah, well, it's complicated, but Scotty Scheffler is the number one player. Now, you get to school me on hockey, right?
Sure.
So I'm gonna.
You're gonna school me on golf.
I'm gonna give you.
I have new respect for the PGA, by the way.
The Scotty Scheffler is the number one player in the world. Okay. Number one golfer in the world right now, and they had a big tournament in Louisville, Kentucky. And as Steve just described it, there was a 6 o'clock in the morning. It was dark. It was raining, and Scotty Scheffler, was said to have disobeyed a police officer's instruction when he was trying to work a accident.
Okay.
An accident had happened. Unfortunately, a man died. Sad to say, because some kind of a shuttle, I don't know if a hotel shuttle or whatever, ran over this fella. He died. So there's an accident scene.
Yes.
So the Scotty Scheffler is driving to the event, comes up on this accident scene, and they said he tried to go around it or whatever. Then an officer said stop, and then they got into some sort of. There wasn't any physical altercation, but it was Scotty Scheffler said it was a misunderstanding. I didn't know what he was telling me to do.
Right.
It was kind of chaotic, and so, but the officer got mad at Scotty Scheffler, said he tried to harm him in some way, and had him arrested and booked.
Yeah.
So I don't know what will become of that story. I don't know if they'll lessen the charges.
What I'm hearing is that everybody's looking to kind of make it go away.
Yeah. So, but Scotty Scheffler's not. He's a really good guy. I mean, he's a really good guy.
The New York Post reports that charges are expected to be dropped.
Yeah, he's not a hothead or one of these people who's always getting in trouble with the law or anything like that. That's why people were shocked that he's arrested.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, all right. Next story, Steve.
All right. We need to talk about what's going on in Iran right now.
We need to.
I think it's important.
Okay, in Iran. Yeah, I agree.
The president of Iran, his name was
duly elected.
Yes, Ebrahim Raisi. He was going to someplace by helicopter along with his foreign minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian. Anyway, their helicopter crashed and he was killed. So the president of Iran has been killed. The real leader of Iran is the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. So the Constitution says that the first vice president, his name is Mohammed Mokhbar, is installed as the interim vice president, and then they have to have elections within a month or two.
So interim president, the vice president.
Vice president, interim president, yeah.
Okay.
But, so is this an improvement? Is it worse? Who's the hothead? First of all, the guy that died, Raisi, his nickname was the Butcher of Tehran, so no one is really going to miss him a whole lot. But the guy that they got coming in is probably just as hot-headed, probably aggressive.
It's the Ayatollahs that run it.
Yeah.
That run Iran. The Ayatollahs are Islamic religious leaders. So this guy who died, this gentleman who died, he'll be replaced by somebody who also will be the spokesperson for whatever the Ayatollahs say, which is their list of policies include two things, namely, we hate Israel and we hate America.
And we're getting a nuclear bomb.
That's their three policy things, and they repeat them every day, huh?
Yeah.
And the shame of it is that Iran has a lot of they have a lot of people that love the West,
right?
And they love.
This is not Gaza, where the population is on the side of the bad guy.
Right. In fact, remember they had that uprising about 5 or 6 years ago.
Arab Spring.
Maybe 10 years ago now. Yeah, where now it was put down, but that just shows you there were millions and millions and millions of people inside Iran who either had family who lived under the Shah. They remember that time, or they've experienced the West, and they know what freedom is like.
Yeah.
At least freedom to move around, freedom to believe, freedom to live where you want, and all those freely express yourself. I know there was we had a guy on staff here with us who flew to Iran for he had to go over there, and he said when they flew from Frankfurt, Germany to Tehran, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, Tehran.
They said when the planes started to announce it was descending to land in Iran, that's when all the women started putting on their hijabs.
Yeah.
Covering up.
When they're in Germany, they're free to, whatever they're in the West, they're free not to wear them. They get to Iran, they're going to have to get them on, or the morality police will, arrest them.
By the way, I'm hearing that when Ibrahim Raisi died, the first thing he saw when he got to where he was going, George Washington came up and just socked him in the face, and then Thomas Jefferson came and pounded him and everything, and he realized he'd been reading his Quran wrong. He was in the company of 100 Virginians.
Bada boom!
Instead of 72 virgins.
Oh, wow!
Yeah, no, there were no virgins where he was going. No.
Where do we go from here?
I don't know.
Okay.
Save me, Steve.
Okay,
we got a minute. We got a minute left.
Quick question here.
Cover.
There's a cruise line called Vila V, Endless Horizons. They are offering, if you want to give them $500,000, two of you can retire forever on their ship and go sailing. They say it's cheaper than owning a house in retirement.
Right. There's no property taxes.
Right.
No.
So the question I have for you is, if everything was equal and you had the money, would you do it?
No. I don't even have to think.
No, I wouldn't. You mean, hey, a lot of people I know love cruises. I'm not one of them. I've only been on one, and it was very traumatizing.
Oh.
It was an older, smaller ship out in the Gulf of Mexico, and it almost capsized.
Ooh.
Well, I'm exaggerating, but it did rock the boat for about a couple of hours, to the point where, like, the dishes were
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was bad. So I never did get back on a.
I've never been on a cruise.
Yeah.
Oh, I have been on a couple of them, and I love it.
Really?
Oh,
yeah.
Would you do it? Would you do the retire thing?
Almost being equal? I don't know. You wouldn't be close to family or or anything like that, so probably
to me, vacations and trips like that are special because you don't do them all the time.
Yeah.
If you run a ship 24/7, rest of your life, you want to do that?
I wouldn't like.
Where are they going to? They got to probably bury you at sea.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't even want to be buried at sea.
I like working out in the yard.
Huh?
I do. I like working out. I don't want to be stuck on a boat in a small room.
Record that, what Ed just said. Quote, I'll bring it back to him in August. Quote, I like working out in the yard. End of quote. Hello, this is Tim Wildman, President